It's time. Football season is back. Week 1 of the NFL season is just days away, and we're back for another season trying to help you make the best defensive calls for your week and win your matchups. As with every week on Pick 3 DST, I'll go over 3 defenses I like and 1 defense I'm fading for the week. As a reminder, these are not my full weekly DST rankings. If you want to check those out, you can click the link below. I'll update those as the week goes on with any sort of injury news, weather updates, things like that. Since we don't have any previous week's games to go over, let's dive right in to our Week 1 show. My sleeper defense for week number 1 is the Houston Texans. Consensus has them at 17th, and I have them up at 10th on the week. Now, I'm also higher than consensus on the Jets and the Bills, but the biggest gap between my rankings and consensus is the Texans for this week. The Texans are my 7th ranked defense on my tiered preseason ranking, so I really do like this unit. They had an up and down year in 2023, but they brought in Danielle Hunter after his 16-sack season with the Vikings, and Danico Autry, who had 11.5 sacks for the Titans last year, plus Azeez Al-Shaair, who was really good for DeMeco Ryans in San Francisco. So I think this is a really solid unit. Overall, their pass rush should be better, and this Colts offense is an offense I think is fine, but not great. Anthony Richardson will be good for fantasy purposes, but there still are some question marks about him as a passer. Until Josh Downs is healthy, I have some questions about the depth of the receiver room behind Michael Pittman Jr. I think the Colts are going to turn the ball over. I like the Texans pass rush, so I think the Texans are a pretty solid option for you in week number 1. Before I get to my solid defense of the week, pause this video, comment below, let me know what defense you're starting for week number 1, or ask me any questions you have, and I'll get to those as the week goes on. My solid defense for week number 1 is the Tampa Bay Bucs. Consensus has them at 12th, and I have them up at 8th on the week. Now, it was an up and down season for the Bucs. They finished 14th in DVOA last year. They were 7th in turnover rate and 10th in sack rate, which is nice, or sacks overall, which is nice. But they were 15th in opponent scoring rate and 22nd in yards allowed per game. Now, I think that those second 2 numbers aren't going to come into play as much in week number 1 against Washington. I think Jayden Daniels will be good. I think he'll be very good for fantasy, but there are some question marks about him as a passer, and I really think the cupboard is bare for Washington receiving options behind Terry McLaurin. I am totally happy taking a defense against a quarterback in his NFL debut who has question marks about him as a passer, behind an offensive line that ranks 27th in PFF's offensive line rankings coming into the year. So I think the Bucs are in for a pretty solid matchup this week, and I like them as a top 10 option. My stud option for the week is the Cincinnati Bengals. Consensus has them at 1st, and I have them at 3rd this week, behind elite mainstays, the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I wasn't super high on the Bengals coming into the year in my tiered season-long rankings. However, I really do like this matchup. The Bengals ranked 11th in turnover rate last year, 18th in sacks, 24th in opponent scoring rate, and that was good for 23rd in DVOA. So it wasn't exactly they weren't exactly a great unit, but they are a super well-coached unit, and this ranking really is all about attacking the Patriots offense. I don't think the Patriots offense has any skill position players that really concern me. Their offensive line looked really bad in preseason, so I expect the Bengals to get in the backfield often. Jacoby Brissett is a solid game manager, so I don't expect him to make a lot of mistakes, but I do think he's going to take a lot of sacks, and I don't see the Patriots putting up a lot of points. So I really do think the Bengals should be a solid and safe play for you this week. Now, before I get to the defense I'm fading for this week, please make sure to like this video. It really does help make sure other people get to see it, and make sure to also hit that subscribe button to get all of our football and fantasy football content for the whole NFL season. The defense I'm fading for week 1 of the NFL season is the Chicago Bears. Consensus has them up at 6th, and I have them at 14th. So I'm not fully out on the Bears, and I would play them in deeper formats, but I don't really think they're in this smash spot top 10 matchup like some other people do. Now, the Bears were a very good defense from week 11 on last year, ranking 5th in fantasy points per game. However, I still have some concerns about the interior of the defensive line. They added good safety help with Kevin Baird in the offseason, but they didn't really do anything to beef up the interior. And so I have some concerns and see how that's going to play out over the course of the full season. This is also just my ranking based on the fact that I think the Titans offense is going to be solid. Will Levis has looked good this preseason. I think he's going to in for a second year step in growth. A wide receiver room that has Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd is a pretty good wide receiver room, and Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are a solid combination in the backfield. So even if this Titans offense isn't elite, I think they're going to be a fine and average offense. And so I have an average offense against a defense that I think is probably slightly above average. And so that makes them a fine play, but not a smash spot play for me this week. So I think in shallower formats, you don't have to feel pressure to play the Bears this week. That's going to do it for week 1 of Pick 3 DST. As a reminder, I'm going to be back here every single week going over these defense choices. And again, you can check out the rankings below to get my updated rankings as the week goes on. I'll see you back here next week, and good luck on Sunday.